Hey everyone, this is James with WSTrades.com. I want to provide an update here on ticker AMD, or Advanced Micro Devices. So I was looking at the weekly time frame here, and they did have that really hard rejection of around the $60 level, and they've been in a nice uptrend. They're starting to face a little bit of trouble here lately on the weekly. You can kind of see them stalling out a bit and pulling back, but still overall, making these higher highs and higher lows. So definitely in a nice little uptrend here on the weekly time frame. I was kind of looking at some of the earnings here, so you can see the last 4 quarters that were reported. They kind of been hanging around that 60 to 70 cent mark for earnings per share. So still remaining profitable, pretty steady. The last 2 quarters here, we had 60 cents a share and then 58 cents a share. Earlier in the year, we had that 67 cent and 69 cents a share. But definitely a drop off here. As you look back to the previous 4 quarters, you can see they made 73 cents, 92 cents, $1.13, and $1.05. So really strong. Those 4 quarters right there were really strong, and then we've dropped off a little bit, even though the price has had a nice rebound. So I was looking at some of the financials here, and again, AMD is one of these companies that trades well above the book value. So you can see, based on the most recent quarter in Yahoo Finance, the book value per share is only $34.16. So traders or investors are willing to pay well above the book value, or kind of the fundamental value, similar like Tesla is always trading way over book value per share. AMD is not that bad, but they do trade quite a bit above, so people are really expecting them to grow over time, especially with all the AI hype right now. AMD has been caught up in that, and it directly relates to them, and they've had some volatility and some pretty wild moves because of it. They've had some massive pumps and some massive dumps. Just a lot of people excited about AI, maybe a little bit too excited, and then they have a fat sell-off. But some things that were interesting to me, we kind of saw that the earnings dropped off the last 4 quarters a little bit, but I was also looking through their cash flow statement, and you can kind of see within there as well, you can see a pretty good drop off in operating cash flow. So if you go year over year, you're going to see this massive jump. So December 2019, their operating cash flow was $493 million, and then they pretty much almost doubled that a year later. In December 2020, they went up to over $1 billion in operating cash flow. So that was a really big jump. But then going from 2020 to 2021, that's where they had a massive, like 200% increase, over 200% increase. They went from $1 billion to $3.52 billion in operating cash flow. But then going from 2021 to 2022, if we look at December, it's kind of flat. So we did not see a big jump like we've seen the previous couple years in operating cash flow. So they kind of went sideways December 2021 to December 2022. And then if you dig into the quarterly, you do see a drop off here. So the quarter ending June 30th of 2022, you see they actually made $1 billion as far as operating cash flow. They have $1 billion there. And then it dropped off a little bit into the September quarter, down to $965 million, and then a big drop into December 2022. There's the $567 million. So you see that kind of tails off, which kind of coincides with, of course, the annual or the year over year cash flow statement. And you can definitely see here in 2023, the 2 quarters reported much lower. March 31st, 2023, they only had $486 million for operating cash flow, and then even less come June. So you can definitely see a big drop off there. So definitely keep this in mind, that we've seen a bit of a pullback here on earnings per share, and a bit of a pullback as far as the operating cash flow goes. But again, I think a lot of people are bullish on stocks like AMD because of AI and the role that they're going to play when it comes to that. So just keep it in mind. We had that big pump up here to about 132. That was that massive move there. In like a couple weeks, it went from 89 to like over 130, and that was a wild move. And then I think reality kind of set in a little bit. That was right after one of their earnings releases there, and they had a just way too big of a pump, in my opinion. And I remember selling calls on that. I had sold calls, I think it may have been before earnings, and then, man, those calls went deep in the money. And I kept rolling, and like waited for a pullback, and I actually got out of that trade at a profit, which was pretty wild because I think my first call that I sold was like a 105. So that thing was like deep in the money, and like it was freaking me out a little bit, but I was like, man, this run is just too stupid. This thing's going to pull back. And it did dump pretty nicely from, about 132, 133 all the way down to about that 106, 107 mark. So that 105 call actually almost fell out of the money at some point. But so yeah, just want to provide an update on AMD here and kind of talk a little bit about what I'm seeing with their earnings and kind of their operating cash flow and kind of what I think about this stock fundamentally. So I'll continue to keep you updated on AMD. Please like this video. Please also subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Hit that notification bell. Appreciate you for taking the time to watch this. Talk to you soon.